Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's Thursday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It's time for the Manufacturer Showcase. And this is a show where we highlight specific manufacturers that DX Engineering represents. And let's not forget, DX Engineering is a manufacturer. We manufacture some of the most innovative, specialized products for amateur radio operators in the world. We really do. We have lots of unique products that no one else makes, and we are constantly adding to those products. And we load them up on the DX Engineering website, which is behind me. And today we have a very special guest. It's Cory, W3CDG, and Cory is head of manufacturing and production for DX Engineering. So welcome, Cory. Nice to have you on from your office.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me. It's always good. Watch the shows every week, and it's good to be on.
And you lead a team of very talented people that make the DX Engineering products and the Comtech products. And so let's get started on some of the products. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours and hours, but let's. I know you've picked a couple of products that we're going to talk about today. So let's start with the first one.
All right. So I tried to going through our list of products. I mean, it always boggles my mind how many different products we actually do make. And so I tried to figure some things. What do I use in my station? You know, what are some of the things that when I went DX Engineering, this is what dropped head. And we've got a lot of different things. Probably one of the first ones I ever purchased from DX Engineering before I even worked here was the DX Engineering radial plate. This is a pretty hefty piece of work here. It's got the patented SO239 connector to connect your shield right to your radials. It's got the laser etched logo with the patent information on there. It's great. And I bought one of these. I put it in at my shack. And I've moved twice since I've done that. And every time I pull this thing out of the ground and it's covered with years of leaves and dirt and everything else, I take it inside my utility sink, rinse it off. It looks brand new. And so, I mean, I've had one of these in the ground for probably close to 7-8 years now. And they just move it to the next spot, put it in, and away it goes. But yeah, it's great. Connects your radial system to your vertical antenna really well there.
Cory, before you set that down, how many holes are in the outside of the radial plate?
I think there's 60 some holes, enough to do 63 different radials.
Okay, and of course, if you want to have more radials, like I like to put down 120 radials, you would just double up on the connections, right?
Correct.
And what size hardware goes in those holes?
It'd be a 1/4 hardware. So we've got a hardware kit that you can buy. I think they come 20 so in a pack, 20 or 25 in a pack. And you put the 1/4 bolt in. It comes with the star washer to make the connection right to the hardware plate there.
Okay, and I see Oscar Zulu 1 India November Golf. He has one of our radial plates over there in Denmark. And Brian Whiskey 7 Juliet Echo Tango says, hello from Arizona. I'm a proud DX Engineering customer. Best customer service and quality products. And so, Brian, thanks very much for that. And you can ask questions today about DX Engineering products. This is the guy who's responsible for putting this stuff together. And so if you have a question about any of the DX Engineering products that we manufacture, now's a great time to put those in the chat. And K0NEB says, I featured DX Engineering products in my December 2020 and January 2021 CQ columns. So thank you very much for that, Joe. We appreciate that. And I see bolts and washers included. Yes, that there's a hardware pack that is in the suggested parts. And our friend Fred, Whiskey 4 Lima Lima, says he has several radial plates, and they are awesome. So that will work with any vertical too, right, Cory? And just about any vertical that radial plate's going to work with.
Yeah, it's got a couple different mounting holes on the back here to go to different size plates, you know, or different size mast tubes that come up from the ground. So I use 1.5 inch water pipe with mine, and one of our DX Engineering clamps fits on there perfect and holds it right into that pipe.
Okay, great. And our friend Dino KL0S says radial plates and accessories make life so easy, and have two in place with my vertical. So thank you, Dino, for that. And what's nice about it is that, you know, you got the female UHF connector is mounted right there. So it's very easy to attach up the center conductor to the feed of the vertical. And of course, the secret of vertical antennas, whether it's the 43-foot DX Engineering vertical or a Hustler vertical or the butternut. Have you had the Hustler? I know you've got the butternut.
Yeah, I run right now. I currently have the Hustler on my radial plate at my QTH. So that's what I'm running right now.
Okay. So, and of course, you're using that radial plate that you keep moving it around, and it works great. And that is really the secret to making verticals work. So show us another cool product, Cory.
So here's one. I mean, every day that I'm on the radio, this is one that I use. It's the DX Engineering foot switch. So we've got 3 versions of the foot switch. I personally prefer, this is the FS1, DX Engineering DXE FS1. It's a plastic foot switch. It comes with, I think, about an 8-foot cable with a 1/4-inch mono connection to go to your keying line to whatever radio you've got, and makes it so much easier when you're trying to log. You can still use 2 hands to type and push to talk. Away you go. So you push down on the switch and start talking and let up, and you're good to go. We make 3 versions of it. This is the FS1. It's the one I like, but they have an FS2, which is all metal. It's a heavy duty switch. The thing actually has some weight. And then we have an FS3, which is the same as the FS2, but with a wide pedal to step on. So you can't miss it under the desk. When you're trying to get that rare contact, you don't have to worry about missing the foot pedal or it moving around underneath you. So
what's great about that FS1 foot switch, and there are 11 of them on the floor here at K3LR, they're all over the place. And what's great is they don't break. They just don't break. It's I had 2 versions of foot switches before we started building the DX Engineering version, and boy, the springs would fly out. And as one guy just said in the chat room, he says, "I need a better foot switch. Mine's a flimsy one." And this foot switch is not flimsy, and it's great. I know some guys try to use Vox and things like that, so you have hands free. But the foot switch is the way to go, because that way you have total control, and really, really works good. And Jeff, Kilo Echo 9 Bravo Victor, says, I have lots of DX Engineering products being used in my shack. And then we have another comment. He says, hello, I have one of those for 3 years, the radial plate. I sent it to Cuba. They are using it for a vertical, nice product. I love DX Engineering. And let's see. So Charlie says, Alpha Golf 5 Sierra Papa. He says, do you still offer the MaxiCore Balun in the metal box? I live in El Paso, and plastic doesn't last long here due to the extreme UV exposure. So let's talk about the Carlon boxes that we use, Cory. Let's talk about UV.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got the Carlon boxes. This is basically the typical Carlon box that you would use in stuff like that in a Balun. UV is tough. UV is tough no matter where you are and what you do. But yeah, I can imagine in Texas it's a lot worse. And to answer the question, no, we do not offer the MaxiCore Baluns in a metal box. We found that the performance of the metal box really definitely caused some issues. So we've gone to the plastic box on that. So that is all we have right now.
Yeah, so I really sorry, Charlie. The Carlon boxes are UV rated. We can tell you that. I know that it's hot down in Texas, but I don't think, Cory, we've ever had anybody send back a Balun because in the plastic Carlon box.
I've had some come back we've had one come back. I think it was about 10 years. And I think they had another issue with it, but I mean, this box you could tell was yellow. It didn't look the gray color anymore. It was definitely faded, but it wasn't cracked. There was no issues with it. It was another issue that the person had that they were looking to get it fixed. So, yeah, I mean, they can sit out in the sun. They do take a beating from that. They will discolor, they will yellow, but they do hold up pretty well.
Good. And the performance of our new line of Baluns is better. I mean, they're definitely higher performance Baluns. That's why we went away from the metal boxes. And Danny says, just about everything I have came from DX Engineering. So thank you very much, Danny, for that. And Safe Alpha 71 Alpha Mike says he has the FS003 for 4 years and it's super. So it's just great. And I'm glad that it's working over in Doha for Safe. And Joe uses the Maxi Core. And Don says DXE radial plates are very good quality. That's Whiskey Juliet 3 United. And so Joe says, I bought the wrong one and you guys took care of me right away. So that's what we do here, Joe. That's customer service. And we love helping people. And sometimes you get the wrong thing. And when you get ready to replace that flimsy foot switch, you know where to come. What else do you have, Cory?
All right, so another thing that we've kind of developed is a fairly recent one. When you've got a Yagi antenna or something, and you're trying to bring your coax out and come out to a dual feed system here, we've got the DX Engineering FPC feed point connector. And what I really like about these connectors, so you've got the SO239 on one end. You've got your two leads, your center and your ground and your shield coming out here, so you can put it on a balun or something like that. If you're using a choke balun with the beads on the cable, and you can go right to your antenna from this point. But this potting compound that's in here is hard. It's waterproof. Water's not going to get in and get into your connection. You only have one spot to weatherproof right around the SO239, PL259, and these are silver soldered inside, so they can take a lot of power and a lot of heat. And just a great way to help weatherproof that connection. We've had people try and, we've tried to use adhesive heat shrink to split the lines up, but eventually water can get in. Yeah, I don't see water getting into that. That stuff is sticky. It gets all over everything. It's fun to manufacture, but there it is. And I mean, it makes a pretty good connection on that point.
Yeah, that's the feed point connector is just beautiful. And of course, you make it in a couple of different flavors too. Correct. You make it with an N connector, you make it with a 7/16 DIN. And if you go to the DX Engineering website and search for FPC, it will come right up. And it's really good. That's what I use on all my Yagis here at K3LR. Every one of them has a feed point connector on it, and that SO239 that you use is all silver plated too, right, Cory?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So it's really, really nice. And let's see.
You can actually see this one this is one of our samples that we use, and it's been out in the weather so long, it's starting to get a little bit of that silver tarnish. But nice thing about silver tarnish is it's still conductive.
And Sean says kits seem to be making a comeback. Any thoughts on carrying those? We have had some kits in the past, and we still do have a couple of kits, but we are working on new products all the time, Sean. So stay tuned. I can tell you that. And our friend N4BCD says using 2 Maxi cores here. Favorite though is the 8-position remote antenna switch out on the tower. Excellent port isolation. And what kind of port isolation do you think Mark is seeing? What do you expect that at, Cory?
Well, it depends. It depends on which one he's using. We have 2 8-position switches. We have the SD and the HD. The SD handles a little more power. The HD has a higher isolation. So if he has the HD, it's probably about up in the around a 60 dB area. So.
Okay. Well, that's great. And see, Rich is on from Australia, and the sun is just coming up. It's Friday morning over there. Rich says, Good morning from Victor Kilo 2 India Zulu. Use DX Engineering components from my homebrew HF log periodic as well as my 40-meter ground mount vertical. High quality products delivered quickly to Australia. So thank you so much for that, Richard. And K0NEB has the same remote coax switch in Nebraska. And Alex W7HU says, can you talk a bit about Philly strand? Not many of us talk about guy wires. Those are very good for the mast or tower. In my YouTube channel, I have a lot of people asking about it. Well, Alex, we're actually going to have a representative from Philly strand on in a few weeks. It's going to be on the manufacturer's showcase. So we're going to talk all about Philly strand then. But if you have questions about DX Engineering products, today is a good day for that because we've got Cory, W3CDG on. And the tall guy out of Pittsburgh, K3STL, says, is there a DXE tilt base developed for the butternut HF9V? Let's tell the tall guy about that story, Cory.
So how you doing, John? It's good to see you on the comments. Yeah, the butternut's an interesting antenna, and the tilt bases for it, we've looked in it, we've tried it, we've done some issues, but what we've always run into at high power, there's arcing. Trying to get that isolation at the base of that antenna, without some of the, no matter how far it seems we get arcing on that antenna. So that's why we do not currently have one. It is something on our list to look at. We get asked that. Actually, I got probably 3 guys asking that today, and it's like, yes, we need something that we'd love to develop, but we don't have that yet.
We haven't engineered it properly, so it's going to be successful. And but what a great vertical the butternut HF9V is. And Greg NC7B says, I love the homebrew antennas and DX Engineering makes it happen. Don't know what I would do without all your stock materials from aluminum tubing to resin clamps. And thanks very much for that, Greg. And how about another product, Cory?
All right, so we've got the foot switcher. Another one that I think gets a lot of attention at Hamvention. We've got an area set up and a guy doing demonstrations of it all the time. We make some really great coax preparation tools. So I've got a couple of them here. This is, we've got the metal ones. These were the first ones that we came up with. These were the DX Engineering UT series kits. And so what they will work with, piece of 8X cable. It's got 2 cuts. You do the first one, it'll cut back the jacket to the right dimension. Come in with this the braid foil back. Bring the second one down. It cuts your centered conductor to the right dimension, and this will then fit right in a PL259, just where you need it to be with the adapters and things like that. So these things. I was making a cable last night and I just was laughing. I mean, I was down in my shack and I needed a cable. So I grabbed the tool and I had it cut in 30 seconds. And I remember the days of sitting there with a razor knife trying to cut it. And yeah, you can do a pretty good job and you can also cut your finger. Best salesman came up to our booth one day and says, I need to buy those tools. He had his hand all bandaged up and he says, I was using a razor knife to trim my cables last night and I cut myself. So along with that, make a set of grippers that go with the cable tools that you can get, and they work really well. You put it on the piece of cable, gives you a good grip on that cable. It's hard to hold on something this small, RG8X. You get a good grip on that cable. So when you're ready to actually process that cable, you can just run it on there and away it goes. And it just peels that braid or peels that jacket right off. It's done. It ejects the piece. There it is. The braid's done. Pull the braid down, run it on the center dielectric, cuts that dielectric for you. And this is where it's kind of nice to hold on to that gripper tool. I can really hold on to that cable, keep it from spinning. It runs down to it, bottoms out. There, cable's prepped, ready to go. Nice clean cuts.
Look at that.
Ready to go on to the thing. So, I mean, we make these for the PL259 solders. So this is for a solder. The metal tool is for a solder connection, like an Amphenol 83 1SP or a PL259. The gripper tools we make for both 8X and 8U size cable, and we also have a line of cutters that do our patented crimp solder connectors. So these ones are a little bit different. They're a clamshell design. They look very similar to the gripper. So people sometimes get them confused, like, oh, is this the gripper? The cutter's a little bit bigger than the gripper, but the gripper just has the serrations to hold the cable to the hold the cable. And then this one, when you open up, you have to watch, because there are blades inside there, and those blades will cut the center conductor. They'll cut the shield back. They'll cut everything back. That when you pull it off, you spin around on one side, you go to the other. It's got a small blade inside here just for slitting the cable, and you pull it off, and then it's ready to work on the PL259s that you crimp on or solder. So we make that for 8X, 8U, and N and PL259s. So they're good connectors for that cables.
Great. And Travis says the Coax prep tools are great. Jimmy's on. He says, I have the Coax prep tools, and they all work perfectly. And Steven says that's next on my list. And from the Netherlands, Papa Echo 2 Kilo, he said, not only are the tools great, but the docs are too. So the documentation is, and also N2OA says, love the cable grip tools. I think I own them all now. And Andrew Victor 51 Yankee Juliet says, he says, I use a lot of DX Engineering products in my station. Excellent products and service. So that's from Namibia. So that's good DX. And Joe K0NEB says he loves those tools, especially for the LMR 400. So, because it works on the DX Engineering 400 Max and on LMR 400, and of course on RG213, RG8U foam. So it works on all those various cables. Cory, any other products there?
I only had so much room to bring stuff into my office, and I've got a lot of projects. You see some circuit boards back here and some Balun cores. I mean, so we're always, every day we're looking and trying new things out. And the biggest thing is, I tell these guys out here that work on this stuff, and they do a really good job. Our main focus is quality, guys. Really get, the product right. We want it, when it gets to you guys out there, it's right and it works and it does its job, and it'll do it from now until the end. So, and
Don says, this is Whiskey Juliet 3 United. He says, is it possible to use the 1 and 1/8 inch resin blocks on the tilt base to work with the HF9V?
We've tried that. There's definitely still an arcing issue. It's just the voltages that build up on that antenna, with the different resonances and stuff that it has, it's just not quite there. We've even tried it with fiberglass U channel and resin blocks on the side of the fiberglass U channel. And you might be able to get away with that with 100 watts, but we still have some issues, and it's not to the level of a product that we're really ready to put out there to market at this point. So, when we put the product to market, we want to make sure that it is right and it does what it needs to do, and it'll do it for a long time.
Yeah, well, that's the important thing. We really go through a lot of testing on things, and I know there was a question on Tuesday, said, are we going to talk about the rotor? And we've been working on that rotor steady, and we've got it in testing. We want to make sure that it's solid. We do not ever want to have a product out there that is anything less than perfect. And so,
I mean, I can even, Tim, we talk about the rotor. I mean, it's outside in the shop right now. It has, basically the equivalent antenna on there, and it's running. It's running all day long, all night. It's just sitting there going back and forth, starting and stopping. And, we're doing the test. We're not putting ramps on the controller. We're testing this thing full bore because we want to make sure it can handle the harshest conditions that are out there with as much load as it can handle. So,
yeah, so it's a testament to, like every product that you make, before it goes in the box and ready for sale, it's tested.
Yep.
You test everything. When the Coax arrives, you guys test that. You test it for loss. You test the velocity factor.
We have to test. We test the dimensional measurements on it to make sure. Actually, these tools that I show you are actually out at our QA station. Every spool of cable or every lot of cable that comes in that we bring in, we test it, make sure our tool works on it, because I don't want to send you guys cable. You spent good money on tools from us. I want to make sure our tools work with our cable. So everyone gets tested. So
yeah, no, that's really important. And Dino said, he said, can you share how the DX engineering team goes about developing a product from inception through sale? Well, that's a whole show in itself, and it might be twice. We go through the ringer. We really do. In fact, Cory and I just got off a meeting here where we have lots of meetings about how we develop our products and test them, and what ones we're going to build, and what the market viability is, and so there's a lot that goes into it. But Cory, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing just a small fraction of the hundreds of products that the DX Engineering manufactures. And congratulations to you and your team. Everyone there is working very hard. They've worked through they've worked under the CDC guidelines, and I know it hasn't been easy, and it's hard sometimes to get some of the raw components that it takes to make our products. But you are such quality minded. You've instilled that in your team, and I'm very proud of everything that you're doing there. So again, thanks very much for coming on. Thanks to everybody for coming today. But if you're still on, you get an opportunity to get a free hat. It's Free Hat Thursday. So the first 50 people that email Terry, K8MNJ, about wanting a free hat, you got to have your address has to be in the email, has to be in there. Okay, so get going. Send Terry an email, K8MNJ, Kilo 8, Mike November Juliet, at dxengineering.com. First 50 emails, get a DX Engineering hat. It's DX Engineering Hat Day. 50 lucky people, the first 50 emails with your address, and we'll get you fixed up with a DX Engineering hat. Thanks to all of you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern Time for the weekend special, 73 from DX Engineering.
thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody out there. Thank you for all you guys do for us. 73.